Hey guys, Fred Kinds, all kinds of classics here. Reaching out to you in episode 30. Episode 30, now we finally got that Hemi, located. We made the modifications to the frame, get those headers running in between the rails, and to get the engine setting as low as it possibly can set. So now we're going to move on and we're going to migrate our way back. We've got the transmission cross member in, we've got the engine mounts in, fully welded, and we're going behind the tail shaft now and working on that cross member in the rear between the front universal and the rear axle. What we have is a challenge here because we're not high enough. We need to raise the rear of the frame cross member, the loop, high enough to get the drive shaft through it and allow for full suspension travel. So here I'm talking about how I'm making those modifications to the frame, and then toward the end of the video, run around to the front and start making the front cross member look a little more presentable. I didn't particularly like the welds in that, so I'm cleaning that up a bit. So have fun, take a look, throw in your comments, ring the bell, share, like, all those kinds of things. It just helps generate more comments and more opportunities for me to learn. So thanks for your time, guys. Enjoy the video, and I will catch you on the rebound.
Well, I got a pretty good day in. Again, working my way to the back behind you there, and it's going well. Well, we'll start with this. So this piece is the X-brace, the top hat for the X-brace. And it's like, wow, that thing's way up there. It's not flat. It's going to go way up into the transmission tunnel. But the total height of this thing, I didn't even think of that. The total height of this thing off of the frame is in the neighborhood of, let's just call it 3.5 inches. It sits on the frame here. These two pieces, paint's wet, but guide it down into this channel, and it sits 3 inches up. And so if I can get convoluted and tooted here, 3 to 4 inches up, so you can see about 3 on the that balancer, whether I keep that or not. But I formed that guy at 6 inches, and it dog legs to the passenger side, and you'll see that here on this next one because the differential, the ring is offset to one side, and that's what saves your drive shaft, right? You don't want to center it dead center. And so typical 9-inch Ford is 2 inches. I had them go to 1 inch off to the side. I knew, I'm up against the frame all the way up, and I'm still sloped a little bit down, about 1 inch off the level on the drive shaft. And so this drive shaft will never see, and it will never go past horizontal. And then I'm carefully sliced this, tied this in down here so I could weld, I could box it, and get a good weld down into the original. And then I'm putting this hat on right now so that the whole thing ties in and looks like factory. This swoops back. It'll go run along the side, and then it swoops out. That's what the factory one did. So I'm doing the same on this one. And it just goes up higher, right? And it does favor, you can see the slope of this is a little greater, just like the original one was. But it's just more up. So I'm welding, I'm letting it cool right now. I got it all tacked in, finished welding the bottom legs of it, of both sides. Want to let it cool, don't want to have a mess there. And if we compare it, I tossed this thing, but so the original hat, this is what I cut out of there. So the original hat, it's set on I'm on the front of it, that's the passenger side, and it swooped up and then it favored the center. Well, actually you can see this was the center of it. This is the center line of the vehicle. It's not quite an inch. Let's see. It's about 5/8, about 9/16 of an inch from the center line, maybe 5/8, about 9/16 to 5/8 of an inch from off the center line. You can see where it swoops out. Oh, it went on this way. Yeah, of course the pinion was off to that side. You can see where it swoops out at the top. Mine is a little more gentle on the car than this, but that's the piece I sliced out, and you can see I've got a good several inches of weld on the original piece, because 5 inches, more than that, all the way out, 6 inches of weld on that side, you know, 5, but probably 6 if you include the angle. So I'm tying the beef into the bracket, and is it structural? Well, yeah, I mean, it keeps the frame apart and keeps it from going together. The X-brace, of course, is going to do more than the factory one ever did, take a bunch of the load off of there, but I do want it to look factory. So that's where we're at right now. You can see how I spliced it right on the bottom there, and then welded it up, and then I'll chamfer out all those welds. Take the time to chamfer that all out. It's got a big ass radius on the right there. That radius is huge. It's probably 1/4 to a 1/2 inch, 3/8 of an inch radius. Very soft, and you know, it's not broke like the top here. It's not bent like this. It's bent probably, yeah, I can easily get my finger horizontal in there. You know, it's probably a 3/8 radius. So I'm going to try to copy that radius all the way up and around after I finish weld it. Smooth that, smooth this, smooth it on the top, smooth it on the bottom. And these are all welded in. And it is a little bit hot, but you know, I got a groove in everything here, so you can get a nice penetration on the piece. So yeah, it took some time, a lot of cutting, a lot of rolling and forming, but very happy with the results. I think it's going to turn out spectacular. So I got that piece done, waiting for the paint to dry, bolt him on. This piece will be done, and then I start working on the rear suspension. Again, I'm waiting for the brackets that mount the upper and lower links on both sides. I should get an email out and see what the status is on that. So, thanks a lot, folks. Till next time. Another day coming to an end. It's not even 4 o'clock, but I'm tired. And I got that piece. I soaked it in muriatic acid. So a gallon of muriatic acid to 2 gallons of hydrogen dioxide, and takes the mill scale right off to just shiny metal. Thing is you want to get on it right away, because humidity will be the best of you. It'll beat it. So I got after that and primed it and painted it. I wanted to get him saddled on and finished up, but you can see she lines up perfect. I don't have the bolts in, but it lines up. And it turned out really nice. Then I started grinding. I've been just frickin' grinding. But I got all my pieces made now. Ran my stitch. Cleaned it up. I got touch-ups now, because, you know, wherever you weld, you typically get a low spot. I don't know if I'm going to do a pass on here or not. Probably not, because the way it comes down and it kicks right here anyway. but she transitions really nice. You can kind of see the kick. You can't you can see that it bends right there, that it swoops down. I got to grind all this stuff out still, and that's where the weld pass was for this side. I am going to clean all this stuff up too. Now that I got it flipped back over, I got a couple of cut-off wheel marks. One right there, and from when I, got in here and cut these slots and touched too close, so I got to clean those up and probably get a little bit of weld in here. Just tap, 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 and just to get it filled and smoothed out. But other than that, other than those spots, same on the other side, you just get in there and when you're welding, and it just undercut because of the heat. Probably had a pretty good gap and didn't get it all filled. But you can see the weld on the bottom side here. Trying to stay on the side of the light. There's another cut-off wheel mark. Got to fill that one right there. No, that's just that'll probably grind out. But I got to get the rest of the welds done on in the nooks and crannies. You can see kind of where I finished out here. I'm coming down, but there's where he was welded straight across, tucked in, and then welded down that wherever the heck it is, 5 inches, somewhere in here. Oh, there it is, right there. You can see the thickness where it penetrated. But I cut it off straight, flushed it out. This returns back to here. That's why this starts to widen out. A little different on the other side, just the way it was. But everything will look like a stamping when she's all done. So very, very happy with it. And now from a profile view, you can see the tranny tunnel will come straight across, but it isn't going to be as deep as that. I might make the transmission tunnel that deep. It all kind of depends on how I want to roll with it. Like this here is just before the kick up for the bench, or for the rear seat. That's right in this area. And then as you go back, this is the kick up, what would be the front of the back seat. But I know this is all this sheet metal is going to have to get cut and reshaped because when the rear suspension's in, it's just the way that it's going to be, right? I'm going to need more space. But she profiles out good. She looks really good. And now a little more zip, 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 and a little more grind, 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 grind. And that is done. So killed another one today. Almost. But I'm making progress. Almost to the rear. Morning. And a cold morning it is. It's about 19 below zero right now. So I'm going to get ready to go to work here pretty soon. But I put this guy in primer at this point, and it looks pretty good, but we can see I don't like that shadow. I want to get rid of that. And I got the same thing on the other side. And I know I kind of showed it, kind of went with it. Kind of felt that it would look like a brake line, but I don't like it. I don't like it. And I know you don't see it, but this is the finish. And I'm not going to be doing any welding to this any longer. So I think I'm going to just do a little bit of blending with some Bondo. Everything else turned out real good. It looks really nice. It looks formed. I got the primer still carried out a little bit, but see, I don't like, you can see that shadow there, and it should look more formed, and hard to break like that, to me, doesn't look good. Everything worked out really well around the exhaust and the cutouts and all that stuff. So in general, well, I'm still extremely happy with it. Extremely happy with it. It's just that I don't like that. Is anybody ever going to see that? Yes, me and you now. And I don't like the way it looks. It looks fabricated. So I want it to look formed. I don't think I'm going to build it up a bunch. Just going to transition it there and there. In fact, I'm not going to. Just going to sweep it with a little bit of Bondo. Hit it with primer before I shoot the entire frame. Rest of this stuff looks good. Happy with it. Going to roll with it. At this point now, I'm starting to mock up. I snugged up the rack mounting bolts, and now I'm working on the, what's going to happen here. So I'm playing with it, but I'm thinking that I got just a bushing on here, just a piece of steel with the proper sized hole, 3/4 inch hole. I'm just playing with it right now where I can get some sort of a mock-up because I have a known diameter, how far from the frame. Got the header in the way. Want to keep some clearance to the header, obviously. I can't really penetrate into the frame. I don't want my angle to be too sharp. I'd like it to get a lot higher up, so I might need to shorten the shaft, but, I've got obstructions. So I'm just working on it right now. You can see here I made a little mark. Even though I've got, how can I do this? I've got clearance. I'm not necessarily liking that look. I'm going to leave that as an option. I'm not going to hit it, but it's more aesthetic than it is anything else. The engine isn't going to hit it. It's going to come in and out and all that kind of a thing, but it's kind of like I said, that's an option. If I do it here, I'll do it over there. But it's got a pretty decent view right here. But when you look at it from right here, it just looks different because you've got that gap and it's not following over here. So anyway, I want to address that as an option. Whether I do it or not, I don't know. It's purely aesthetic. The guy is shipped my parts, my front link brackets, upper and lower bracket link mounts, and so that's good news. We are going into a weekend, so at this point I want to try to get that dressed up and clean up clean all this up, and maybe if I have a strong weekend, clean all this up and get the frame painted, at least back to the rear cross member, or the rear cross member right here that I fabbed. If I can get it primed back to there, that would be spectacular. But it looks like I'll have to get the steering addressed. Obviously, I'll have to get the steering addressed. Any other modifications, if I take those optional deals and run with that, finish out the covering up, priming and cleaning up the rust pits in the front of the frame. It's not deep. It's just, they're minor, but they need to get cleaned up. And then of course, clean and dress all this, these welds in here. I just don't like how that looks. So gonna get the nice sharp edges, clean that up, and then prime it, and then hopefully shoot it in the black. So that would be a pretty strong weekend, really, when you kind of consider all the prep and all the dancing around that a guy has to do to get there. So that's what we're looking at. Hello, all. It's a brand new day. Today is a Saturday, so it's a strong day for me. Obviously, you can see I pulled the engine out, and I have run the steering. So I made this bracket. I brought my steering shaft back. You don't want to get these angles at too much more than 15 degrees, so this guy will go up. Maybe he'll go straight to the firewall. It looks like I'll probably have to do a drive, some sort of a drive to get it up there, or another. Just a minute. Sorry you can't see my face. Let's try to adjust this camera a little bit. We'll try that there. So, you know, with universal joints, you got the condition of the, let's see if this is going onto the shaft. You want to make sure that you clock them correctly so that if the top side of the universal joint, the ear for the universal joint is on this end, on the top end, you want it the same on this end. And in this case, it is. So if I were to add on to this, I would want to clock it in this direction, right? Now, nothing's permanent here, but you know, clearly I can play some games. That's a little too steep, but I can start to approach an angle that's acceptable. Right here is the firewall. The line for the firewall is right here. So it might be prudent for me to come over and then drive it up with these. You can buy these chain driven, but they're basically a timing chain. You know, a double roller chain in a enclosure, and you'd want to have some sort of a tensioner in it, of course, something that would allow for the wear of the chain. The condition is that you're only ever using a certain amount of that. Well, 3 rotations. So if you use a small enough gear, you do want to use as much of the chain as possible so that you don't wind up with hard spots as the tensioner, as the chain wears and the tensioner moves in, right? Then you're going to have rollers on that chain that aren't going to be worn, and rollers that have a wear pattern in them. And you know, it's not a good thing. So if I can get away with it going another route, I'll get away with it going another route. I can get a double set here. You know, I've got a lot of options, but at this point, I'm not that entirely ecstatic over the steering angle. But I built this piece, mounted it up, clamped it on. It has a roller bearing in it, and it's clocked so that it's perpendicular to the shaft inside of this housing. This is bolted to the frame. It's rigid. You know, I can literally lift up the frame with it. So it's good. It's good. But, and I'm clear, and I clear the header, got about 1/2 of an inch in getting that header down and into here. So some air will move past it, probably a little less than 1/2, maybe around 3/8. And we'll see that in the future. But at this point, that's on. I am going to go and relieve. I'm going to just do a small pie cut here and on the other side, because I have the engine out. I'm going to finish grinding the transmission. I'm going to grab the phone now. The transmission, I'm going to flip you. Mount. It's all welded up. But, oh, there's that nut. But I want to finish grind it, you know, put a little radius. It's too sharp. Radius that out a little bit. And just basically clean it up. Clean it up and get him in a proper coat of paint. I did get this in primer. He turned out real nice. So maybe I already showed that, but did a little more filling on it, a little more sanding on it just to get it nice and smooth. It turned out, you know, I really like it. I don't know. I hyper focused on that. Don't know why. Looking at the steering angle. So it's just slightly above horizontal. But again, I couldn't really go up any higher. Yeah, I could have gone up, not hit the engine mount, but I would have hit the header. So that's, again, got that all finished, and then pulled the engine. So here, I made this mark. I think I showed that to you. I want to take and just make a little pie cut right here. Do the same thing on this side, just to open it up. Engine's out, steering's good. So at this point, now I think I'll go ahead and finish the disassembly, or I'll begin the disassembly of the steering. And I'm going to start dressing this out. This is going to need a little bit of, I don't like the welds. I don't like how that turned out, the way it was delivered to me. So I'm going to do a little bit of body work on it and get it to look good. I like, with all due respect to the work that was done here, I like the welds that I did with the MIG. These were TIG welds, but they look amateur to me. So I'm gonna just do a skim coat of mud, because that's a show side. You saw the engines behind it. I don't want people looking down in there, looking at the paint job and then seeing, stuff like that. I want them to come down and look and see stuff like that. Okay, so there you have it. Got get some filler into the frame horns, and finish that. Yeah, and then I should be in a position to start spraying it out. I'm going to hang the control arms, get those sprayed out, and get off to the races here. Then I can set the engine in it one more time and begin the phases of wiring and that. Now, I do need to get the engine rebuilt still, or machined, before I put it together. Monday on the FedEx, they were delayed by weather, but Monday those front brackets will be in. That'll be welding on there. This is enamel paint, so I should be able to spray, I can spray all the way to, second coat, top side, that kind of thing, and then blend it, spray back. So it is a chassis. I am looking at a really good finish in the end, but if I need to do one final spray out just to get it to blend, I'll do that. But at this point, I want to get it all black. That's where I'm headed. All right, thanks for your time.
All right, I got the front straightened out. This side was really good, just straightening out the welds on the corners. I cut the metal on that, so I stopped. And this side was not as good. You know how metal moves. Anyway, got the corners fixed, gonna sand those down, radius them down until I touch metal. Covered the pitting up. Where I ground for weld. Got those all cut out. Cut back, swoop back. They turned out really, really cool. I don't know. I just dig that stuff. I dig it when you go in there and add a little shape and stuff. But anyway, so just spread the mud. So I got to get on it with 36 until I touch metal, and block it with 80 and straighten it all out. I'd really like to get in a coat of primer. Still is Saturday, same day. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. Sweetie wants to go to a movie, so of course that supersedes everything, because it's a movie. The corners on the shock towers turned out good. Just grinding. These hang out in under the fender. It'd be tough to see the top side, but
I'm gonna leave those. There's a couple of weld pits. I might hit them with some of the red stuff. That freaking lacquer shit, but it does work good because it cures out for small pinholes and that. So it's good cover. Let's see. That's about it so far. Excuse me. I just drank a bush and I got a little burp in me. But thought it'd be hanging. Maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll start hanging the parts. Get some wire, hanging all the control arms. Get those squirted, and then this will be sprayed with Rust-Oleum. If I can get it primed, but it'll be sprayed with flat black Rust-Oleum. The flat black is actually like a satin, and it goes on well. I spray it with a gun, and so I have to get everything cleaned up, get some shitting on the floor, and go after it. So going well, going very well.